You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. We have quite an interesting show for you this week. Well, I should mention that this was taped before the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the huge fallout from all that. It included both Disney, who now owns ABC, and the network itself. It created a massive controversy by wiping Jimmy Kimmel off the air from his late-night television post. Indefinitely, they said at first. And after the intervening week, the subsequent public murmur at the grassroots grew to a roar. It was from the press, comedians, commentators, the public at large for such blatant violation of the First Amendment, especially because what he had said was quite innocuous, and secondly, because the head of the Federal Communications Commission had hinted unsubtly that the White House was upset and ABC could have its license taken away if the White House was upset, if they didn't do away with Jimmy Kimmel. He actually said the quiet part out loud. Carr, the guy who heads the FCC, he said, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Well, the story ended somewhat happily, at least for now, with the bad boys inviting Kimmel back on air. But the process of his being wiped off the air sent not just chills, but icebergs up the public spine, and justifiably so. So let's start by talking about the First Amendment again. And for openers, reading it. It reads very simply, but it's full of the big stuff. Quote, "Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." End quote. And then we're off into the gun clause, which you may remember since I've covered it 2 or 3 times. We're off into a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, and it was intended as a well-regulated militia that was necessary to that security. And to the right of the people, not individuals, the people, to keep and bear arms that shouldn't be infringed. I'm quoting from a book from Oxford University Press called Madison's Militia by Carl T. Bogus, with the subtitle, The Hidden History to the Second Amendment. He's a historian, and it's a fascinating work, filled with all sorts of gossip about the founders and their internecine warfare as they forged this new nation. They didn't like each other necessarily at all. They all envied Jefferson. They all disliked Adams. Adams disliked them. Oh, it was a pot of stew. And it's a fascinating work. But focusing on the Second Amendment, and it proves that, despite Patrick Henry's strenuous objections, Madison snuck that in, meaning for it not to pertain to crazies wielding AK-47s, but to the contextual meaning of militia. Context, which was posses of slave hunters pursuing enslaved people, trying desperately to escape their enslavement, or else rising up in periodic slave revolts. Well, that's another subject. We've done it before, and we'll come back to it doubtless again. But for now, let's focus on the First Amendment. It's interesting to learn from the same book that Madison, who was short of stature, mild of voice, and quite brilliant, although less of an electric presence than Jefferson, was against a Bill of Rights in the Constitution. He thought it was unnecessary and repetitive of the Constitution, but then the simmering battle broke into open between those who really wanted to secede and those who really didn't. thinking they could still make nice with the king and not ratify full rebellion. Patrick Henry, the religionist, was among them. It became clear to Madison that rights did need to be specified and were not self-evident after all. The first group of amendments Madison would propose may be called a Bill of Rights, he said, adding, quote, "I will own that I never considered this provision so essential to the federal Constitution that it should have prevented ratification of the Declaration." Madison had not been able to fully accommodate himself to his political flip-flop, first opposing the Bill of Rights, then changing his position during an election. And here his discomfort produces a strikingly lukewarm endorsement for his own proposal. But his colleagues probably saw this as a reflection of his straightforwardness. Quote, "Even if I had not been an early and fervent advocate of a Bill of Rights," he went on to say, he realized that, quote, "a number of the most respectable friends to the government and champions for Republican liberty did favor it." Madison drew a distinction between the kind of Bill of Rights he was about to propose and the English Declaration of Rights of a 1689 document the founders knew, and they knew it very well, and they revered it. So Madison began his speech about this with what he termed the great rights, which he defined as trial by jury, freedom of the press, and liberty of conscience. What about the perfect equality? Here, Madison may have been taking a bit of a swipe at the Constitution of Massachusetts, drafted by John Adams, which began, "All men," sick, and they did say men, "all men are born free and equal, and have certain natural, essential, and unalienable rights," close quote. A representative of a slave state, Virginia, like Madison, might be expected to tread very carefully here, and Madison did quote this, to be sure, as an absolute truth, yet it is not absolutely necessary, he remarked, to be inserted at the head of a constitution. Oh, they were very wily politicos. The United States Constitution would not mention equality or guarantee natural rights, observed or guarantee equal protection of the laws for nearly a century. Trial by jury was not a natural right. It arose from the social contract. But it is as essential, he said, to secure the liberty of the people as any one of the pre-existing rights of nature. In guarding against abuses of power, it was as important to recognize where the greatest power resided. The legislature, he thought, since it was the first mentioned in the Constitution, was the most powerful branch of government. Not anymore. And more than the courts, and much more than the executive. Much more than the executive. Take that, Mr. President. But in a government such as the United States, the greatest danger flowed not from the legislature, he thought, but in the body of the people operating by the majority against the minority. Would a paper barrier be sufficient? Would it be sufficient to restrain abuses by the majority? A Bill of Rights, argued Madison, might help protect rights by forming public opinion in their favor. They are not adequately protected by state constitutions, suggested Madison, because some states have no Bill of Rights and others have very defective ones. Sure makes you yearn for the good old days, doesn't it? Freedom of religion and freedom of speech and assembly. Right there in the very first amendment of the Constitution. And we look back longingly at it from a time when both religion and silence are shadowing this republic with dark clouds and much rain to come. But now to our guest, Justice Emily Jane Goodman. She served as an elected New York State Supreme Court judge for more than 25 years, and prior to that she was a judge in the criminal and civil courts. And she's returned to the practice of law at Beldock, Levine, and Hoffman because she missed advocacy and direct client contact. That's because she used to represent me when I was in jail. I was the client. She's also a consultant to other law firms and a popular mediator. She holds BA, JD, and MS degrees, the latter in journalism, and writes frequently on legal issues for general publications, including the New York Times, The Nation, Newsday, and various online sites. She's also one of my dearest, oldest friends, and she is perfect for this time, right now. So I will return with her in just a moment for the conversation after this brief message. Subscribe to this program on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Follow us on Twitter at WMC Live, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WMC Live, and visit us at WMCLive.com for more information about our show and our guests.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Justice Goodman. Justice Emily Jane Goodman, otherwise known as Emily or M, and one of my oldest friends in the universe. Hi, darling heart. How are you?
Hi, good to be with you again.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. And you were the first person that I thought of, not only because you had been a New York State Supreme Court justice, but also because you're my oldest friend and who I know I could trust, and because you were retired and you could speak, um,
Yes.
which is not a small thing. That I wanted to go to and say, "What, Emily, WTF," as the kids say. What the hell is going on? Why is this now our last hope of government? This is the third branch, and the other two are gone. And what is happening? So,
Okay.
question number one is, why does the law have such a delay? Why does it take years and years and years for something to wend its way up?
Okay. All right. Well, most people probably don't realize how many courts are involved. And when we say the court, we might mean the Supreme Court of the United States, but we might not.
Uh-huh.
Uh, because there's state courts, and every state has its own judicial system.
Right.
And there are the federal courts, but the federal courts are set up as districts,
Uh-huh.
first district, second district, et cetera, and they're all different. And above the district court judges, I'm talking now about the federal system, there's a court of appeals within that.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the last stop, which is the Supreme Court. So, and people might be wondering, Trump's various cases,
Yep.
that is, cases against him, why were some in New York State Court? Why were some in Georgia? Why
Right.
why are they all over the place?
Right.
So the different courts have different jurisdiction, and some are civil cases and some are criminal cases. And taking New York as an example, we know about Eugene defamation case.
Hmm.
So that was brought in New York State Supreme Court, and that was because uh, Trump called her a liar
Hmm.
after she disclosed her experience with him. Now, frankly, why she didn't disclose this in 2016 uh, or 2000 or before the first
Right.
election, I don't know. But anyway, so that case was,
Maybe she was just scared. I don't know.
well, yeah, that was, so that's her defamation case against Trump. Now, that had to go to 2 other courts
Uh-huh.
within the state.
And each time the justice or justices, if there's a panel, have to argue and among themselves. And I mean, in other words, nobody says, "Well, I'm voting no," or "I'm voting yes on this," and goes for it.
Okay, so and in the state courts, at least this state, judges are elected. Most judges are
Right,
elected,
right,
whereas the federal judges are appointed, and
right.
they're nominated by, guess who? The president,
Yeah,
and they have to be confirmed. But we can see that confirmation is very easy because of the people that Trump
yeah,
picks.
yeah.
So and then taking Trump's other case brought by the attorney general about mortgage fraud,
Right.
uh, people might have noticed that the case itself has been upheld so far, the accusations, but not the amount of money.
I see.
Uh,
Oh,
so you see now I'm sure he's appealing each and everything
every
uh,
jot and tittle.
that
Yeah,
that he can,
yeah. And there
and
are hundreds of cases against him, apparently.
yeah, probably all around the country, yes.
Yeah,
And he has his legal team, which
which is partly kidnapped from serious law firms that are,
well, yeah,
caved into
and
him.
well, for example, he recently appointed to the third federal district one of the lawyers who was representing him in New York State Court. And this is the person who ordered that the charges against Mayor Adams be dismissed.
Uh huh.
And a lot of people uh, felt that that was completely unethical and improper.
Mm,
Not only his appointment, but this quid pro quo
yeah.
about the federal case against Adams, which was about corruption, more or less, that would be dismissed.
Uh,
And it appears that Adams would then be on Trump's team, at least in terms of the
yeah.
immigration situation. So all these things, and so now he has been appointed to the highest position for a judge until the Supreme Court. Many former judges, including myself, did sign a letter saying that the Bar Association uh, in New York, it's called the Grievance Committee, that action should be taken against him before
Mm.
he was even nominated for the judgeship, but just because of this deal with Adams. And they declined to do that. So what are you going to do?
Uh,
If I mean, these are the people who judge wrongdoing by judges and lawyers. Well, uh,
uh,
apparently they didn't think too much of that. And you probably know that the federal lawyers who were handling that resigned rather than bite,
right, right, right.
and they would not dismiss the case because there was no basis for dismissing the case.
Yeah,
So, one of your questions was, why does everything take so long?
yeah.
Well, you can see any case goes through multiple levels
Hmm.
and lawyers and appeals, and there's no way of
There's
uh,
no way to speed it up.
yeah, and now the uh, feds, including the various agencies, the president and the Supreme Court, are after the judges, including the judges in the federal courts,
Uh,
because there have been so many decisions against Trump's positions
right.
that and they're not necessarily judges who were appointed more recently by Obama. Some of them were appointed by George W. Bush,
Right.
and even Reagan, one
Yeah.
of the older judges. And some of them have been horrified, even though they were probably conservative lawyers and conservative judges, but they believe in due process
But then does
and
their opinion count for nothing? I mean, if
so if they are the district court judges, which
uh,
is the lowest federal
ah,
judge, and who has to have been appointed by a president and confirmed by the Congress. And
mhm.
you know, according to the Constitution, the Congress is number one, the president is number two,
Yeah,
and the judiciary is number three.
yes,
So
exactly.
when a district court judge says, "Well, you can't just throw people on an airplane and take them to Sudan,"
Hello. Mm,
and they are happen to be um, probably possibly a Democratic judge, but also someone who cares about the rule of law,
yeah.
then the president says, "Well, that person is a lunatic."
Uh-huh.
And that person is a communist,
Right. Yeah.
whatever comes into his mind. And now the Supreme Court itself is criticizing these judges,
Yeah.
and they are, you might say, they're the boss.
Right.
And so recently,
Oh,
I'm sure most people are aware of the birthright order, the
yes.
executive order by Trump
Right.
saying that a baby born in this
Mm-hmm.
United States, despite the clear language of the Constitution, has to have been born to an American
Mm-hmm.
or a person with valid documentation,
Right.
one of at least one or two of the parents. And the judge who there's there are cases that are decided that apply just where they are,
Mm-hmm.
and some cases, if they have universal, when I say universal, I mean the United States, not the world.
Right.
Uh, if they have universal application, that judge can say this applies everywhere.
Uh,
So now the
that's
Supreme
what's.
Court has uh, admonished that judge and has placed a very chilling effect on other judges, saying uh, that he has no right to do that. They didn't touch on the question of whether you have to be an American to have an American baby. They haven't touched that. They're only talking about the procedure.
Oh,
And I might say, there is an argument about, uh, why the universal, application can turn around and bite us. Meaning, yeah, of course, you wanna say throughout the United States, a woman gives birth, that
right.
baby, according to the Constitution, is an American.
Right.
We agree with that, no question about that. Um, but what if a district judge in um, Texas
Mm-hmm.
says, this is a universal decision. Abortion is illegal everywhere.
Right. Right.
So there is another
Oh,
side to worry about,
this is a
if you
nightmare.
see what I mean.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court judges have taken to writing decisions that are very critical of some of the district judges. And one recently, who is a very senior judge, has sort of apologized and has written to the court, and it's public now, apologizing and saying that uh, because of the decision that the Supreme Court rendered, which was not really a decision, but one of these shadow docket things, which I'll talk about, that he did not realize that that was actual law. So this secret docket thing is um, a couple of lawyers
Mm.
go to the Supreme Court in the middle of the night. They call the appropriate judge and they have a brief meeting, and that's it.
And
But
they
it's not
just
a decision actually on the case.
ah,
It's probably an injunction, or, yeah, for now, we're stopping abortion. It doesn't mean that we're reaching the ultimate
right,
conclusion,
yeah,
which of course
sure.
they did.
Uh-huh.
And so that's all dark. And no one knows that that happens. And
Oh
they
my
usually
god.
and they usually don't write an explanation of it. So in the case of this judge that I'm referring to, who apologized, said he did not know or understand that a brief one sentence ruling from the judges on the shadow docket was actually setting precedent in in another case.
Mhm.
And so he's very apologetic and he misunderstood and it's his fault, etc. And with the universal cases, um, they have um, written that it's clear that a judge can only deal with a case that's before him or her, can only rule on
Ah,
a grievance that affects those plaintiffs,
right.
uh,
So
not their neighbors, not
right, exactly. You can't make it a whole across
right.
the
So
board.
now no one knows. Does this mean that say a pregnant woman without documentation has to bring a lawsuit in every state
Oh
so that
my god.
they would have jurisdiction to say, yes, anybody who delivers a baby in this country has delivered an American.
Uh-huh.
But that that is not at all clear. They haven't made the actual decision based on what everybody has always believed historically is the Constitution.
Mhm.
So that is
Well,
a shocking.
they're
But,
violating the Constitution right and left. I mean,
well, right,
and north
and
and south.
this one happens to be so clear because the words are actually in the Constitution
Yeah.
that anyone born here, I mean, anyone living in the United States as a citizen or with the proper documentation, documentation, other than a diplomat
Mhm.
or
Right.
a transient visitor.
Right. Or yeah,
Um,
well, you have to register. Those people have to register and say they're the agent of a foreign government or something like that. I remember.
right, right. So
Mhm.
the diplomats have a lot of diplomatic courtesy
Right.
on, say, loitering, littering, but not on this. So
Mhm.
that's clear in the Constitution. But and so we understand that the baby is born to uh, one or the other parents who is American. That's not in question. That baby is American.
Yeah.
But well,
Well, Emily, is there what I mean, I guess I'm screaming help, because we've lost two branches basically, and the whole planet is endangered, and it's a pretty scary time. And I
absolutely.
am one of those who believes that this is, in fact, not just even incipient anymore fascism, but
Oh, I totally agree with you.
yeah,
The
it's
constitutional crisis has happened.
that's right, exactly, and it's
That
continuing. It's continuing.
Yeah,
Every day he does new things.
you're
This
right,
is
and that's not just, the things we're familiar with. I mean, today or yesterday, Trump, ordered the, bombing of a
yeah,
boat because he believes that drug smugglers and drugs are on it, and now he's saying, "Well, that is, legal in a, act of war." What
that's
war is that? Because he's decided that drug smugglers are like their own nation,
that's right.
and you
Yeah,
can declare war
yeah. Well,
on
yeah,
them.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And besides, he's making more on Chicago, so there's a war somewhere.
Yeah,
I
and I
mean,
think right,
you
that's
know,
right, and
and
Boston.
Boston, yeah. So
Oh,
but this is a living nightmare. I mean, and um, I don't, I know that there's no way to get people off the court except by polite pressure. And like, for example, Ruth didn't go when, oh, she should have gone when she should have gone. And then she would not have been replaced by Amy.
right.
But is there any, um, anything that, is there any appeal beyond the court? Is there any,
Not really. Well, I predict, and I have no actual information, but I predict that Trump is going to get Thomas to retire. And the reason I say that is that
uh,
he's up there in years,
uh,
and Trump wants to make sure that he gets to fill the seat with his choice of
right.
replacement.
Yeah.
Whereas if Trump, if Thomas lives into the next term, presidential term, which could be a Democrat, the seat would be lost.
Yeah, but
So that,
I don't know that there will be a third term. I mean, I just, in other words, I don't, um, I think we may have, this is happening very fast, all of this.
it is, it's only a couple of months.
Yeah,
And
it's
and how
amazing.
people, well, I mean,
And
we
the
can,
attention to detail is also extraordinary. I mean, why even bother in this sense when you're dealing with nation states around the world?
yeah.
Why even bother with the Smithsonian Institution? Why even bother with going after Harvard? Why even bother with these relatively smaller things?
Well, they are relatively smaller than life and death,
Yeah,
but this is very familiar in other autocracies,
of course.
and just destroy the culture.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So you go
So
after the Kennedy Center, for God's sake.
right,
Excuse me. I mean, when that would have been fairly low on anybody's list, I mean, but there doesn't seem to be a way out. I mean, I,
yeah,
I
right. As far as the Kennedy Center, he doesn't like the performances, and
right.
he had suggested that the more appropriate thing would be to have "So You Think You Can Dance."
Yeah, yeah, and so
Yeah.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and of course, probably everybody has noticed that anything having to do with slavery,
Oh, because slavery was a good thing. Jesus, what's that wrong with
that's
you?
right, and people should know that,
Yeah.
and they shouldn't be taught.
Upset, negative things. Yeah.
And the same in the parks, in the national parks.
Yeah.
Everything has to be taken down that might suggest a flaw in the United States. So these cultural things, I think, are very dangerous,
Yeah.
even though they're not
Oh, yeah.
warfare as such.
No, but they are because kids grow up and they don't know. They don't know. They think Robert E. Lee was president.
Hmm.
They think Robert
Hmm.
E. Lee was God. They're not happy.
Yeah.
They have no.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe the average person doesn't follow a lot of nuances, but you have to wonder, uh, don't they notice that Trump in his campaign said, "On day one, I will solve the Gaza
Right.
situation.
And then
On and
yeah,
on day one, I will also end the war in
Ukraine.
Ukraine."
Yeah.
Oh,
And
well, aren't they wondering? But whatever
no,
happened to
apparently
those
not.
things? No.
And apparently they don't. Apparently, when they were so hot to trot about Biden's uh, alleged disabilities or being slower on certain things, when he functioned, by God, he functioned, and
Mhm.
he passed legislation. But never mind all that. When they were so eager to declare Biden senile, what is nobody looking at Trump? Is nobody looking at the absolute
Right.
insanity with which he conducts his daily life?
Yeah, yeah. Everything he says contradicts what he said a minute before.
That's right, exactly. So I'm in a hot tizzy. I mean, of swirling in despair because the planet, I mean, experts
I don't
and
want to put words in your mouth, but I and others may feel that it's we're past the point of return.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, we're rapidly approaching. We're rapidly within 5 years, we will have reached a point of where it's not solvable.
Hmm.
It's not,
And
and
most of us who feel that way, though, don't know what to do to change the course.
no, that's why I'm calling you.
Yeah, right, right, right.
This is and I am also trying desperately to be an optimist um and uh and trying to think coherently and creatively. But it's very, very, very difficult because this time it's not just brown shirts
Mhm,
and burning crosses. This time this is the planet.
mhm.
And if the planet goes, there's no purpose in
Yeah,
anything else.
and as we started out, destruction of courts, like destruction of culture, is very familiar in this scenario.
Oh yes,
Getting
absolutely.
rid of judges, lawyers, courts,
And
and
yeah, the thing is, I've just finished a book of my short pieces and essays that I've compiled since the first 25 years of this century. I mean, 2025 to 2020 to 2025, and it starts with
yeah.
the fall of the towers, and it ends with the rise of AI. So, I mean, it's a little dark, but it's very interesting, I think. And what it did was make me realize that we have not, by God, gone quietly. We have
No.
been on the streets and in the. People always say, "Oh well, the young don't," or they say, "Oh, the old ones don't," or they don't.
Right.
But that's not true. That's not true. People were marching and in the streets for George Floyd,
Yes.
for the women even who got killed, for on every essay, every issue. We have not gone quietly. So I don't know what it. I can't believe that Trump and his coterie are so clever that they were cleverer than us and that we can't think of a way through this. I just
Well, in some ways, he has been very clever, and it was probably a long-term plan. For example, choosing judges who,
yeah,
when the time came,
yeah,
would be on his team.
that's right. That's right. Well, and that's the oh, that Washington group that Larry, what's his name, heads.
Kavanaugh?
No, no, no. Kavanaugh's the justice, but this is it's run largely by Catholics.
Oh, Roberts. Yes, yes, it's
But
true. And
yeah, and Alito and I mean the only error I can see on our side was Ruth's miscalculating and saying she wanted to stay as long and she had
yeah,
a right.
and these people that he's putting in charge of various agencies
Oh,
are
please.
so inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and have such bad track records
Yeah, and it's so
that
obvious too. It's so blatant. It's so in your
mhm,
face. They don't care anymore to disguise it. So,
yeah.
mm.
So, yeah, we still don't know really what to do. I have to reread those essays to be reminded that uh, that there was that
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
activism.
the very first from the get-go when he got in the first time, there was a huge march of the pink pussycat hat march, of women primarily. And the good thing is that women have been leading the protests now more lately, and as particular women of color. So
Hmm.
that's all terrific. We've been doing some right things, not completely, of course, but some right things. But it's making no difference.
But also, do you notice that some of the women he's given extremely important jobs to are these tall, skinny, blonde,
Oh, always, yeah, with their with
right?
their with their long hair and their yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they are doing terrible things.
Yes,
The
they are.
Attorney General, the,
Oh my God.
Homeland Security,
Yeah,
and this crazy, Loomer, Laura
yeah,
Loomer.
yeah, yeah. No, they are.
She says she has a sense that somebody is a spy or that somebody is, doing something treasonous.
Yeah,
It's so, you know, Is it
Ah,
is it the 50s all over? I mean, I hear some people saying, "Well, we survived McCarthy."
yeah, I hear them saying it too, and we survived 9/11, and we survived this and that. But this is different. This is really different.
Yeah.
Well, it's a strange, bizarre comfort that somebody as intelligent and brilliant as you are,
Oh, please.
no, with the years on the bench that you've had, is feeling the same way. It makes one, it gives you hope. It gives you feeling that
Yeah,
maybe.
well, listen, if you hear of any, of our compañeras doing anything, that we should be doing also, please let me know.
All right, I will. I will. Oh, Emily, Emily, Emily. How did we come to this? I mean, I don't know.
I I don't know. It didn't look like this was gonna be the path,
No, no,
uh,
and I
50
just
years ago.
no, and it's certainly not how I expected to spend my old age. But there we are,
There we
and
are.
so we'll do the best with what we can. And
Okay. Well,
all right.
please do stay in touch. Know that you are always one of my heroes or sheroes
Oh, darling.
forever,
Oh,
forever and ever.
and you are as well. We should have lunch sometime or dinner or something like
Yes.
that. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I will
Yes.
call you.
In
Okay.
fa and if you don't feel like going out, I'll bring lunch to your garden.
All right. We will do it. We'll do a garden. This is a
Okay.
good idea. All right.
All
All
right.
right.
We'll
This
plan
this has
something soon. Call
this
me
has come out of
anytime
it.
about this.
All right, darling. Yeah, if he does something even more, well, I can't think what that would be. But I
All right.
don't want to
But
think of it.
all right, I
Anyway,
hope this conversation is what you wanted.
it was a beginning anyway.
Okay, good. We'll do some more.
It's time for another short break, but I'll return directly with, this time, some more fighting words. The Women's Media Center, founded in 2005 by Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, and myself, is a progressive, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make women visible and powerful in media. You can learn more about the WMC at womensmediacenter.com.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
You might remember that from last week, I said I was adding, this season, heartening words and reflective words and meditative words and different kinds of words to fighting words. But this week, it's right back to fighting words. This is the kind of news item that makes me absolutely crazy. I welcome you to join me. Beth Schlachter, MSI Reproductive Choices Senior Director of U.S. External Relations. MSI Reproductive Choices is an international NGO. She made this statement recently. The deliberate destruction of nearly $10 million worth of contraceptives under the blatantly false pretense that they are abortifacients is an outrageous act of cruelty. This decision will cost lives, derail progress in global health, and strip millions of people of the basic tools they need to plan families and protect their health. The background is that in a shocking decision that will rob women of reproductive choice, the U.S. government under Trump has destroyed $9.7 million worth of contraception, already paid for by the American taxpayer, claiming the supplies are abortifacients, that is, cause for abortion. They're not. The massive stockpile of family planning products, including IUDs, implants, and pills, has been stuck at a warehouse in Belgium since the administration dismantled the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, earlier this year. When MSI learned of the plan to destroy the contraception, it offered to distribute the products at no charge to the American taxpayer. Other NGOs and governments made similar offers. They were all told no. Instead, the U.S. government has spent an estimated $167,000 to destroy them. Well, I thought, that won't make you laugh. It might make you weep. But for laughter, you'd have to go to Jimmy Kimmel. And that's our show for this week. You can follow me on social media at The Robin Morgan. You can check out my blog at robinmorgan.net, and you can find my new novel, Parallax, and my just-out new book of poems, Harvesting Darkness, wherever books are sold. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. Executive producer, as well as founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. WMC president and co-executive producer for this program, Julie Burton. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us. Join us next time on Women's Media Center Live.